Good evening, guys. Tonight we're going to talk about the Air 3 versus the other Dji Air aircraft and should you upgrade. Now, what everybody is trying to tell us on YouTube is that the Air 3 is better than an Air 2S, and they do side-by-side comparisons, and clearly they don't edit anything. And I'm going to explain why the Air 2S footage generally looks a little darker. It is because the Air 2S has an f2.8 lens, whereas the new Air 3 has f1.7. 1.7 just means it lets more light in than does f2.8. If you need to understand this better, go on one of the photographic sites and you'll pick it up. Now, I have the Air 2S, and I also have the Mini 3 Pro, which has just come back from Dji Air. This one went in for a motor repair and they gave me a brand new one, which is fantastic. Now, the problem I have with the new Air 3 is very apparent when you start understanding a few things. One is these two drones that I've got on my table now both run on what's called OcuSync 3. OcuSync 3 means it uses 2.4 and 5.8 gigahertz for the video and the transmission back from the drone to your controller. And the problem with the Air 3, it now has had 5.1 added, and they now have called it OcuSync 4. The idea behind it clearly is to give it more range, but 20 kilometers versus 18.5 on an Air 2S or the Mini 3, really this is all ridiculous. No one's going to be out at those distances. Yes, and I get it that if you fly behind buildings and mountains and things, stronger signal means you might get your drone back. Well, quite frankly, I've never lost a drone of this type in any situation, so I don't think it's in any way something you should consider basing your decision on. In addition to which, nowhere am I aware of in the world are you allowed to fly those distances legally anyway. Yes, if you're a first responder and you're looking for people in the mountains lost and stuff like that, maybe you would like to fly a bit further, but I'm not a first responder, and no, I don't need to use a drone for this. And frankly, if that was the intention, they should have put it in their enterprise craft, not in their hobby stuff. Going a little bit further on, I can fly either of those two drones plus every single Mavic 3 that is currently on the market, whether it's the Classic, the Pro, 2 cameras, 3 cameras, whichever. This RCN1 controller can fly those aircraft, including the Mini 3 Pro and the Air 2S that's on my desk. In addition to which, this controller, which came with the Mini 3 Pro, also can fly every drone, but it can fly all of the Mavic 3s, the Mavic 3 Pros, the whole shooting match. Got a 700 nit screen, which is great, works perfectly well. Cost-wise, somewhere between $300 and $400 in Australia. And then I also have one of these, which is the RC Pro. Now the RC Pro, again, can run every single craft plus a lot of backward compatible units in their whole range, but neither of these 3 controllers that I have on my desk can drive the Air 3. So if you buy the Air 3, you will have to buy a new controller because you just will not get it flying otherwise. In addition to which, it is not compatible with the goggles. The Mini 3 is compatible with the Integra and the V2 goggles. The new OcuSync 4 is compatible with nothing at all that they have. Perhaps they'll make a software adjustment and change this for us going forward. I would then reconsider my situation, but as of today, I think that the only people that will be looking to buy the Air 3 are people who do not own any drones, people who do not have controllers, and for them, great, go ahead, spend the money, buy yourself the new Air 3, because for sure it's a good craft and it will fly well. Now, going to the cameras for a second, I mentioned that the Air 2S has an f2.8 20 megapixel 1-inch sensor, which is an outstanding sensor. Now, the new Air 3 has 2 of these cameras, which is exactly the same that is in the Mini 3 Pro, which is an f1.7, but it's 12 megapixel. On the site, both the Mini 3 Pro and the Air 3 claim 48 megapixels. This uses what's called a Bayer array, and they use what is classified as a sub-pixel, meaning that each pixel is actually separated into 4 smaller pixels. And by doing that, they can either use them as a 12 megapixel, or they can use all 4 separately and they can claim it's a 48. The big downside for me is that if you look at the size of the sensor on the Air 3 and the Mini 3 Pro, it's a 1/1.3, which makes it about a 3/4 inch or 0.79 inch sensor versus the Air 2S, which is a clean 1 inch sensor. Now, I have many big photographs that I've used my Mini 3 Pro for, and I have many large pictures that I have taken with the Air 2S, and there is no way that that can be easily improved on by anything other than the bigger Mavic 3 Pros and the Classic and aircraft like that. They will have better resolution, better pictures, because they have better cameras, but you pay a lot more for that. So just short, going back to the situation, what are the upsides of the Air 3? Answer is I don't know. Would I buy it at this stage with the fact that I can't use any of my controllers that cost a lot of money? The RC Pro, as an example, was $1,500, probably the same price as what the Air 3 is going to cost on its own without any controller. And that's a lot of money to spend, and I'm not prepared to go into buying something else that I now have to have completely separate equipment to walk around with. Whereas now I can take the Mini 3 Pro and the Air 2S, one bag, and I can run both aircraft with any of these 3 controllers without any issue at all. And just talking about the controllers, the new one, they've added some aerials. So at this point in time, this one has internal aerials. So they've now added a bunch of external aerials, 2 aerials that fold up, pretty much the same as what's on this one. And they're claiming that this is going to give them better distance, etc., etc. The difference is it's gone from about $300 to $400 to around $600 in cost in Australia. So pretty much double the price to get a couple of aerials, to go further than what legally you're allowed to. Madness. So Dji Air, I would like to recommend that you look at refreshing your software on all of these units that I've got here, and just take out the 5.1. I'm sure whatever it does, it could be redundant, and we could still get the transmission using the 2.4 and the 5.8. And no, of course it won't be OcuSync 4. Does it matter? If it actually flies the aircraft, gives me a visual, and I'm able to fly within a reasonable distance using O3, driving your new Dji Air 3, I would be quite happy with that, and more than likely would buy it as an add-on. But at this point in time, it's absolutely off the table. Not going to spend any money on it, and I'm sure a lot of you out there have the same problem. Thank you for watching. If you like and subscribe what I've said, please subscribe to my site, press the like button. Thank you for watching. Wherever you are in the world, whether it's morning, noon or night, have fun. From Australia, good night.